Welcome to The Technical Marketer, where marketers become engineers. I'm Matt Landers.
And I'm Will Johnston.
And this is our first ever podcast coming to you live on Facebook. A little bit about what we're doing. We are thetechnicalmarketer.com, and we are going to be bringing to you all the latest tips and tricks for digital marketing. And today's show is going to be about Facebook audiences. And the way the format of the show works is that we're going to bring to you whatever's happened in the last week. So this is going to be a weekly podcast. Just whatever it may be, like new research, new reporting, new tools, new whatever. So Will, kick us off. What's been going on?
I want to bring up something that I really love, and that's push notifications.
Oh, yeah? You just really like getting that message?
I love receiving push notifications for apps that I barely use.
Oh, yeah.
That let me know that people that I barely know like things that I barely care about.
Exactly. You know what that reminds me to do?
What does it remind you?
It reminds me to uninstall that app.
Yes. So consequently, 71% of app uninstalls are directly related to push notifications. What does that mean for you? If you have an app in the store and you're trying to consider what types of push notifications you want to send people, really think critically about this, because push notifications are an invaluable form of marketing for your product, for your app, whatever you need. And you don't want to cause somebody to uninstall your app by sending them a push notification that they just don't care about.
Exactly, and it happens all the time. In fact, the Reddit app has started telling me when r/all is trending.
Yeah.
Do they think that I don't know that already?
I'm on Reddit all the time.
All day, actually. You do no work.
I don't work. Reddit has consumed my life. It's a real problem. But what I don't need is to know what's trending on Reddit, because I already know what's trending on Reddit.
Yeah. How can you get into your ADD to remind you about that funny thing you saw?
I've probably seen, the top 10 posts 100 times in the past hour. So
yeah. So Reddit, please remove that. It's ridiculous. But seriously, your push notifications are one of the most important things that you get out of having an app installed on somebody's phone. The last thing you want to do is send irrelevant messages that really aren't providing you a lot of value. Mm-hmm. That's just annoying somebody to the point to where they uninstall your app. And it's just as bad, actually, as if they turn off push notifications. It might as well be the same thing, because you're losing that ability to connect with that person as a push notification. Whereas, as your email is getting crowded and everything, that's really valuable. They've decided to install your app, and now you're annoying them to the point where they just don't want to deal with you anymore. Don't do that. We all hate it. Yes. Everybody out there knows what I'm talking about. Don't do it. Send valuable notifications, because those are awesome.
So let's get down to business. The topic of the week is Facebook audiences. So we're going to be talking about how to define an audience, the different metrics you can use, whether you want a narrow, broad audience. Why don't you get us started?
Yeah, so audiences are not something new. Facebook has taken, a traditional marketing term. Mm-hmm. Audiences, who are you talking to? Everybody, no matter what they're doing. If you're a magazine, you're trying to build an audience. That means the content needs to be targeted towards the specific group of individuals. So if we think about audiences, you want to make sure that whatever your product or services is, that you're getting it in front of people who are potential customers.
And Facebook has a huge audience. I mean, there are around 2 billion people. We've got 220 million people using Facebook in the United States. And there are roughly, across the entire Facebook network, 250 million monthly active users. I mean, you're hitting a huge amount of people when you advertise on Facebook. So crafting the right audience is very important.
But speaking about advertising on Facebook, I think that a lot of people may say, I don't even use Facebook, which that doesn't matter. The fact that you have a Facebook account means that Facebook can advertise to you, because their display network is getting bigger and bigger by the day.
Yeah, the Facebook audience network is very large. I mean, there are very prolific sites that are using the Facebook network, Forbes, CNN. All these major sites use it, and when you're trying to advertise on Facebook, your ads can go not only to Facebook, but also to these other sites.
Right. So don't be trapped in that, oh my God, I'm advertising on Facebook, I'm not really getting in front of everyone, I'm only getting in front of old people. It goes to people that are young that also just happen to have Facebook accounts.
Yes.
So audiences, let's think about this. So if you're doing traditional marketing, you put up a billboard, what's the audience that we're targeting? Obviously, there's a location where the billboard sits, but it's more of an awareness thing, right?
Yes, and most of traditional marketing is awareness based because you're hitting certainly you're hitting your audience, but you're also getting a lot of people outside of your audience, and
Right.
whether or not they convert or find somebody else who's going to convert is a totally it's up in the air.
Right. So, like in the example of a billboard, that billboard is sitting in a particular zip code with people passing by it that happen to live around the billboard, but you're also getting truckers that pass by, people on trips, all kind of people that have nothing to do with what you're advertising potentially, especially if it's something local. So in that case, you're paying for a CPM for that billboard for people who don't even necessarily matter to you, especially if you're a local business. So on Facebook, how can we avoid that?
I mean, on Facebook lets you narrow down your audience by location, demographic, interests, and behaviors. It's really, you can craft the perfect customer for your product or service, and you can use Facebook to target those customers.
Right, but as far as the location goes, where the billboard's sitting on Facebook, I can actually say, I only want to hit people in this zip code that actually live there, not necessarily people that are just happen to be there at the time that my ad is showing.
Now you can, if you're, say a restaurant, local restaurant, you can target whoever is in the area at that moment in time rather than who lives there. So you can use that to your advantage as well. But if you're, say, a local services business that does lawn care, you can target only people who live in specific locations, and those would be the locations you serve.
Right. For lawn care, for instance, you wouldn't want to target people who are just traveling through. They're not going to buy your lawn care service if they don't live in that area. So that's where the power of Facebook and all the data that it provides is really amazing. So location, I think that when people dig into Facebook audiences, that's the first thing that you look at, right? It's the first thing that pops up. You say, where do I want to target? You can either do a radius, a zip code, a state, area, like southeast. There's a lot of different ways that you can define your location. But after that, you get into more of the demographics. So
yeah, and people, men and women respond to different things, different messages. Maybe you want to run an ad directed at only women that is more, catering to products that they might want to buy versus products that a man might want to buy. So Facebook lets you target specific demographics,
Right, yeah. If you're selling high heels,
yeah,
there's only a certain number of men that are going to be in the market for that.
Yeah.
Right?
And you as a marketer, I mean, there might be men out there who buy high heels, but you're going to have a much higher conversion rate, and you're going to save a lot of money by only targeting women.
And that brings up a good point. Yes, there are men that buy high heels. Bless you, Caitlin. But the majority of people in the market for high heels are not, men. Yes. So you want, and that, narrow versus a broad audience is really important here because, yes, there are people who may buy your product that you will miss by narrowing your audience. But is it more important to you to talk to a narrow audience of people that you know are customers or a broad audience where you're hitting all of your customers, but you're also hitting a bunch of people that are definitely not your customer?
Yeah.
Right. And the reason that matters is that it's way cheaper for you to target a narrow audience than a broad audience because you pay for how many people you're targeting. So if I can weed out millions of people, men versus women, for instance, down, then I can spend way less money targeting the people that actually want to buy.
You have
product.
a better chance of somebody actually clicking on your ad.
Yeah. The whole time that we're doing this, anytime you're doing digital marketing, is that we're working on conversions and conversion rates and getting somebody to see an ad, take an action, whether it means giving you the information so you can send them email advertisements. But at the end of the day, we want people to buy a product or service.
And this is really where the engineering comes in, using the deductive reasoning. You look at a number and you figure out what that number means and what you need to change to make that number improve.
And it's just a constant, test, repeat until you hone it into exactly what you want. So once we get past the demographics, Facebook, this is pretty basic. We can do this with a lot of different ad platforms where Facebook really excels and what makes it something that I love to use for advertising is the interest and behaviors. So Facebook, because of the nature of the platform, where they know so much about you,
Yeah,
they can target you in so many ways.
People volunteer so much information to Facebook without even realizing it, and I mean, it's a little Big Brother, but it's
It's okay. But as a marketer, that's great.
Yeah, no, for marketers, you can take advantage of that, and you should. It's really beneficial. It's really helpful for you. It's very helpful for conversion rate optimization.
Right. So the way that Facebook does this is that they know, based on the pages you like, based on the interactions that you have, the posts that you share, the comments that you leave, they're tracking all that data, and they're putting it into different things that you can target. For instance, if you like the page for McDonald's, then they know I can target everyone who likes McDonald's, but I can also target people who like fast food. Mm-hmm. So I may be Crystals, and somebody that likes fast food, that would be a good audience for me to target, is somebody who also is in the market for that type of
And that's
product.
An important point. You don't have to be, the genius making all those inferences. You let Facebook do that work for you.
Right. And they've gotten pretty good at it, but at the same time, they're not perfect at it. For instance, there's behavior data where they can tell you things like what's the household income. Mm-hmm. And one of the ones that I always look at is, how many people are making over $100,000? And there's only about 500,000 people in that group. And I think that, there's definitely more than 500,000 people making $100,000 in the world. So that data is not completely accurate. They can only give you what they know. So they're getting that off census data, wherever they get the data, I'm not exactly sure. But you're going to narrow it down and miss a lot of people if you're not careful. And the way that you can avoid that is that when you're choosing your interests, you're choosing your behaviors, you just hover over the one that you're looking at adding to your list, and make sure that you look at how many people are in there. And if it doesn't make sense, then the data is probably not right.
Yeah. You generally use your, common knowledge to figure out if what you're doing is good or bad. But the greatest thing is once you run the ad, you figure out if your audience is correct or not in a very short period of time.
Right. So interests are really powerful. So let's just take some examples. Let's just say that you're selling fitness, for instance. Mm-hmm. So what kind of things might you want to target?
You would want to target people who eat healthy,
exactly,
like to exercise, depending upon the time of year. If it's around January when people are making New Year's resolutions,
maybe you target people that like Krispy Kreme,
yeah,
donuts, because those are the people that are sitting around like, maybe I should work out. Now, they may never use your gym membership, so they're perfect.
Yeah, no, you want to fill your gym for people who don't go.
And never go.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So, I mean, these are the things you have to think about. Depending on your business, the way that you target, the way that you speak to people, you know your business better than anyone. You know who you're talking to. So Facebook is giving you a lot of the data that you need to talk to those people in the right way, at the right time, and making them make a purchase. So, one of the important things that we always work through with people on creating audiences is that not everyone has one audience, right? Mm-hmm. So you want to create avatars based on the type of people who buy the different products you have.
Yeah, you might have 4 or 5 different profiles of people who would buy your product, and Facebook allows you to create and save these audiences so you can use them in future ads.
Yeah, one thing really important with that is that let's say that you're a retail store and you have men's clothes, women's clothes, kids' clothes, whatever. You're going to want to build a profile for each type of buyer. There's a different person that buys kids' clothes versus women's clothes versus men's clothes. And you're going to also want to provide for them different creative.
Yeah, in fact, you might have a whole campaign just dedicated to a specific audience.
Right. So in this case of a retail clothing store, I would want to target probably women to buy the kids' clothes. Mm-hmm. Because they're going to be the ones out shopping. They typically care about that more than men. Are there men out there very interested in buying their kids' clothes? Absolutely.
Yes.
But again, keep your audience narrow. So important. You're going to save so much money doing that. So, and then as you do that, you create these audiences and you create different messages for them. So in Facebook, there's a hierarchy to how you create a campaign. Typically, when we think of a marketing campaign, we think of it very logically. Like, I mean, one that I bring up all the time for whatever reason is the What's Up campaign from Budweiser, right? You think of that as being the campaign, the What's Up campaign, right? But on Facebook, it's totally different. Your campaigns are actually based on what you're trying to accomplish. Are you trying to get awareness done, conversions, clicks, whatever?
Video views.
You know, that's your top level. And then at the ad set level is right below that. That's where we're choosing what audience we want to talk to. So that's where we say men, women, whatever that might be. You know, the interest that they have, the age that they are.
And you can have multiple ad sets. So that's where you can change your audience. That's where you can use your saved audiences based on your avatars to create multiple different ad sets.
Right. And then based on that audience, we need to talk to them in specific ways. We need to give them a message that speaks to them. So if I'm talking to a mom that's buying their kids clothes, that means that I can target women that have kids, and you can even look at the age of their kids sometimes. It's a little bit creepy. But the audience can be that, I mean, the message that you craft there can really speak to that person to really get them to engage with whatever your online presence is.
Yeah.
And then, so audiences can get even deeper. So this is like your initial cold traffic audience is what we would call it. We're just trying to find somebody potentially interested in our product and get them to engage with our brand in some way. Now, once they engage, it's known that they're not necessarily going to buy it right away.
Yeah.
So how can we make sure that the people that have engaged with us, they've shown some interest, that we get back in front of them?
Well, Facebook has a way to retarget people, whether they've used your app or gone to your website or watched a video that you've put out, any other sorts of engagement. They have a way for you to say, okay, I want to target all the people who have viewed this. So that means that they already know kind of who you are. They might be a little familiar with you, and now they might be ready to actually make a purchase.
Yeah, the way that I like to explain it is that through your digital marketing, you should be trying to tell a story. If you're telling a story, you don't want to give away the end of the plot right away. So you don't want to show your discount right away. If they don't know who you are, then what does the discount mean to them? It has no value to them. Right?
There are very few businesses that can offer a discount and get immediate conversion.
If they don't know who you are, right?
Yes.
I mean, if you're Macy's, then go ahead, send out some discounts. But if you're a local retailer boutique, you need to say, hey, we're a boutique and we're targeting women between 20 and 30, and it's trendy clothes, right? And you need to tell them about that, maybe show them some clothes. When they engage with you, they look through your products. You can target people that saw a specific product and give them a discount on that product in their feed later on.
Yes.
So you know they had some interest in it, they clicked it, maybe they added it to the cart even.
Maybe they were like, I need to wait for next paycheck.
Yeah, which, you know, maybe they blew
That happens a lot.
It happens a lot, especially with my girlfriend. So retargeting is key, and that's all part of building your audience and making sure that, you know, you're engaging with them different ways. I know that one way that we like to do campaigns is that I like to have a video that's a general awareness video saying, this is who we are, this is what we do. And once people watch that 50 to 75% of the way through, I want to target them with something a little more, maybe a blog post about something related to my business, maybe, you know, whatever, and then try to get them down that track. So now I've taken them from, this is who we are, here's a little bit of valuable information you can read on our blog, and then the next one might be, all right, now here's a discount or something for you to come in and actually make a purchase and be a customer with me.
And it is important when you're doing retargeting that you retarget people immediately. Don't, you know, try to create this big audience that you want to retarget 6 months down the road,
Right.
because at that point they've totally forgotten about your business.
Exactly. So if you ever go to, my favorite example is Warby Parker. Go to Warby Parker, I don't care if you wear glasses or not, and just click on a frame that you like. That frame is going to be on Amazon, it's going to be on Entrepreneur, it's going to be on Forbes, it's going to be everywhere, wherever you go, wherever you're looking, you're going to see that in there, and they're going to try to get you to buy it right away. And it's going to trail you for the next X amount of days until you don't go back to the site. But if you click any of those ads, it's going to trail you for another 7 days.
Yeah.
So that we call it like a trailing remarketing ad, where somebody's made some type of engagement, they're following you along, and then they're constantly staying in front of you until you make the purchase, or you've proven that, okay, maybe they weren't an actual customer, they just clicked it for whatever random reason. After that, you know, because of all the ways that you can target Facebook users, it's really complicated going in there and creating your audience. And one of the things that I've seen people do time and time again is that they'll put in the list of interests just tons of different interests. Just like, I want healthy living, I want dieting, I want just over and over. So you have these huge audiences. So if you do healthy eating, I think it's like 500 million people. And then you throw in there maybe people who like turkey. Well, that list of people are already part of the healthy eating. So you need to make sure that when you go in there and you choose your interests, that you hit narrow further. So that's like whenever you have a list of interests, those are all ors. Healthy eating or exercise or this or that. When you hit narrow, it's an and. So they need to be healthy eating and they like to exercise and they like CrossFit. So if you're a CrossFit gym, you want to make sure that you're narrowing your audience down to the type of people who are exercising the way that you want them to. Otherwise, you're not creating an effective audience.
Yeah, and you'll end up spending more money than you want to spend.
Way more money, and you'll wonder why it's not working.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're creating the audience in the top right, you'll see the size of your audience. And if you add one of those really large groups, a 500 million group, and you keep adding interest, you'll see that number just doesn't change. Mm-hmm. But when you do the and then you add it, you'll see it get narrower and narrower, and that means the audience is getting smaller and smaller. And typically I tell people, keep your audience below 100,000 people.
Yeah.
That'll allow you to spend, a few $100s will let you get your ad in front of everyone in that audience, for less than $1,000. And then if you do that, you can start remarketing to the people that engaged with it.
Mm-hmm.
So anything else on retargeting that you want to add?
I think that's about it for me.
All right, and so the most important things, let's just do a little bit of a recap, is that you create your great cold traffic audience. Who is that? And they're the interest, that you build your avatars, you break them out, you talk to them in a specific way. Mm-hmm. Once they've proven that they care about what you're doing, we retarget them.
Then we retarget them with more specific ads. Maybe we retarget them with a discount or some sort of offer.
And you want to drive them, in that case, to a landing page or something where they got to make an action where if they actually are doing something. Mm-hmm. Just sending them to your home page is not a good idea. You're not going to convert them at that point.
The cold traffic you can send to your homepage, you can make them watch a video, you can send them to read a blog article, things like that. But once you're retargeting, you want to make it more specific. You want to give them less options.
Right. And if you're an online retailer, send them to the product they were looking at, something they added to their cart but they didn't check out. There's a lot of different ways to do that. And you can go on to our blog on thetechnicalmarketer.com and get a lot more of that information. Down in the details. We'll have screenshots and walk you through everything. And I guess that kind of wraps up our first podcast.
Yeah.
And there we are. So Facebook Audience Wizardry, brought to you by Matt and Will. So our goal here at The Technical Marketer is to help people who have been in marketing for a long time, or maybe you got a marketing degree, and help you become more of an engineer, just really testing and reiterating over the things that you're doing online, analyzing that data, turning that into sales, and spending the least amount of money that you need to do it. And it's really important. If you get good at this, you can really create an engine of growth for your company where every dollar you put in, how many dollars that produces on the other end. And if you can get to that point, then you can create some really great businesses online and make some progress. So appreciate everybody that tuned in. We'll be back next Wednesday with another live version of our podcast. And we'll see you then. Thanks.